Hey guys, how's it going? Miso here, back with another Epic 7 video. So in this video, what I wanted to go over is Sigret and her exclusive equipments. Now Sigret is probably one of the most popular Wyvern 13 units right now because of her ability to do a lot of damage and also apply a lot of debuffs at once. And while she does apply a lot of those debuffs, I think the one weakness of her debuffs is that they're bleeds. And bleeds technically only last for one turn if you're talking about Wyvern. So what do I mean by that? So if you're thinking about a debuff like unhealable, death break, unbuffable, those types of debuffs, those debuffs expire at the end of the turn, whereas debuffs like bleed and burns and poisons, those expire at the beginning of the turn. So you really only have a one turn window to apply another debuff onto the Wyvern before he's able to attack your other units. So with that, I want to go over the two different exclusive equipments that are the most popular for Sigret. The first one is the one that I'm using. This is going to be the second exclusive artifact. So this, the first one's right here on the left, middle second, third for her S2. So the second artifact is the one that I'm using. And the reason why I'm using that is because I struggle to keep debuffs on the Wyvern. So I'm using Terranor Guard, who's kind of a inconsistent debuffer, and he has Junkyard Dog, which is also pretty inconsistent, and Sigret to apply the debuffs. The other two don't really provide that. Tywin, every now and then he'll Death Break with his S3, but I don't really rely on Tywin to do that. So I'm really looking towards Sigret and Terranor Guard to provide those debuffs. And in that situation, I believe that Sigret on her exclusive equipment 2 is going to be better than her exclusive equipment 3 for the S2. Now, let me explain that by going into Wyvern itself. So here's a situation in Wyvern. I've been autoing my way through and I just got to Wyvern after beating the first stage. Now, my S2 and my S3 are on cooldown. Now, this is a situation where TG just went, he was unable to land the Death Break, but he did land a burn. So he landed one of his debuffs, which is great. Well, not great, it's fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. So this is a situation where the second exclusive equipment for her S1 is going to be better than her third one for her S2. The reason being that I'm really right now relying on only S1 to apply those debuffs. If I don't apply the bleed right now, then Tywin is not going to be the only one that is going to get hit. He can hit my other units, which if he hits either Sigret or TG at this time, I'm going to be dead. So let's try it. There you go. I landed both of them. Now, if I didn't have that exclusive equipment, then I may not have landed them. The chances would be lower. But because I had it, then that's the reason why, I was able to survive, because it was a higher percent chance and it landed. So the other bigger reason why you would want to use the second exclusive equipment is because, look at this, S2 is still on cooldown. So I still have to rely on S1 to land this. Now, if my TG had missed his debuffs, then that'll be a problem. Luckily, he hit those and I don't have to worry about it, but TG only has about a 75% chance of hitting those, I think. I think it's 75, either 70 or 75. And if he missed it, then I would have been put in this situation again where I had to land those debuffs on S1. So let's use S1, it landed again, one of them only. And Wyvern, luckily, because of this, because the Death Break was there, the bleed was there, the burn was there, he attacked my Tywin. Now, if we go another turn forward, again, what's going to happen is S2 is going to be up, right? But my Sigret is not going to use her S2. She's actually going to be using her S3. So I'm going to click auto, and she's going to use S3. So that is the reason why, again, the S1 exclusive equipment number 2 is going to be better, because that's 3 turns where I didn't have S2. So it's 3 turns where I would have to rely on S1, or I guess 2 turns then for S1 to provide that debuff. Now let's go into the that's the situation where I believe S2, the second exclusive equipment, is gonna be better. The situation where your team is not able to consistently land debuffs and you're really relying on Sigret to get those key bleed stacks. Now let's move on to the next one. So here we go. Here's a situation where I believe the S2 artifact, the third exclusive, the S2 exclusive equipment, the third exclusive equipment is going to be better than the second one for the S1. So here we have a hypothetical team. Now this is definitely not an ideal team, but it really, demonstrates my point. And you can make a similar team to this with the same concept. So the concept for this team is that there's a lot of debuffs on your team, but probably not the most damage. Let's say, instead of Dizzy, you might be running like a more realistic unit like Karen or Chloe. But unfortunately, I don't have those units built, and for Karen, she'll be wearing a torn sleeve, and I don't have that. So we're going to use Dizzy to demonstrate. But this is a situation where you have a team that has a lot of debuffs, so you don't worry about debuffing the enemy. But the thing you do worry is that you may not have enough damage because Dizzy isn't a damage dealer. She doesn't even provide attack buff or anything. So in this situation, I'm worrying about damage. And where specifically? My damage during shield phase. Because during shield phase is where it's really like, testing your damage, right? If you don't do good damage during shield phase, you die. So Wyvern's going to use his tail flip thing right now. Town is dying, whatever. This is just for explanation purposes. So in this situation, right? Ooh, great, I have a death break. So I'm going to SSB S3. We're going to apply all these debuffs to him. Now, let's pretend that this was a situation where I was... the health was above 50% because I haven't been doing enough damage. So in that situation, I would have a lot of trouble doing enough damage right now, because if I S2'd, it wouldn't link into the S1, and I might not be able to break the shield because of that. Luckily for me, SSB landed her death break, and because of that, I'm able to break shield, but sometimes you miss it. And because of that, you fail the run. You don't do enough damage to shield. Now this is where the third exclusive equipment for the S2 comes in. Because let's imagine him being at above 50% HP, you're gonna S2 and it's not gonna S1. Now, in this situation, if I did have that, it would S2 and S1, and I would do more damage to Wyvern, and as a result, do more damage to the shield and have a higher % chance to break the shield and keep going forward with the run. So that's a situation where exclusive equipment number 3 is going to be better than exclusive equipment number 2 for the S1. So that's kind of my thinking. So let's see, we S2, and then because I have that equipment, then she S1s. If he were at above 50% HP. So yeah, that situation is going to be where you're going to want to use the third exclusive equipment instead of the second one. And the last one that I want to demonstrate, I guess not demonstrate, but talk about, is going to be the situation where you just want speed. You want to do it quickly. You've got the run down, you're able to do it very well, you're able to make it through Wyvern with no problems, and you're pretty much, you're doing it 100% almost. Now, in that situation, that's another situation where you want the exclusive equipment number 3, because that allows you to do more damage quicker, earlier on. When he's below 75% HP, you're going to start doing the S2 and S1 100%, and instead of having to wait until 50% of his health. And though that situation is another one where you're going to be using that one over this one for Sever, the 20% bleed chance one. Hopefully that explains a little, clears things up a little bit more for you guys on which exclusive equipment for Sigret to use for Wyvern 13, because I know that there's a lot of there's not really a definitive answer, at least not from what I've seen online, for which one you want to use in your situation. And it is situational, because both of them are great, but it just depends on what you need for your team. If you need more debuffs and you're having trouble landing debuffs, then you're going to want to use the one for the S1, this exclusive equipment number 2, the one that I'm using. And you have no problems with that. Your team's doing that very well. I was watching one of my guildmates, one of my friends, run his Wyvern 13, and he had no problems with that. He was running Furious with Song of Stars and SSB. SSB was bringing in the S3 debuffs. Furious was bringing the target, the burns, the def breaks really consistently, and like my Terranor guard. Yeah, that situation, you'd want to use the S2 exclusive equipment instead of the S1 one. Hopefully that clears things up. Let me know if you have any more questions about Wyvern 13. I'm doing a lot of stuff around Wyvern 13 right now, doing a lot of experimentation, doing a lot of testing to kind of see what I can do to make my runs better. So I'm exploring it at the same time as you guys, and would love to answer any of your questions and test anything out that you're interested in. So leave a like, go ahead and share this video, and subscribe, because that would be great. I'd love to start kind of pumping these videos out more often. In the past I've tried to become kind of like a YouTuber, but I've kind of gotten, the idea just kind of starts running dry, so it becomes hard to make videos. But right now I'm determined. I'm going to try my best to start making more and more content for you, to teach you about Epic 7, which is the game that I've been playing for such a long time and want to share with the community. So until the next video, guys, hopefully that'll be tomorrow. I'll see you guys later. All right, peace out. Oh yeah, I always forget this, but stats. So nothing has really changed too much with my Sigret stats, my unit stats, other than Sigret. Sigret, I ended up upgrading her equipment to have more effectiveness, more crit damage, more attack, which is overall really good. And I think I kept her speed pretty consistent. So she's better now. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the 65% effectiveness that you would want on her, but the moment I just don't have the equipment for that. I either give up too much damage or I give up too much speed, and I ideally want my Sigret to be at least 180 speed. And I'll talk about that a little bit more probably on my next video. Let's see, my Terranor guard is the same pretty much, a little bit over 200 speed. Try to keep the survivability up. I've been kind of moving equipment around because during the free unequip I kind of moved things I wasn't supposed to into different units to try to make Wyvern a little bit easier, but he's pretty much around the same stats. I think he has lower survivability right now, but I have him over 200 speed with, hopefully, I think probably not enough HP to survive Wyvern, but maybe enough with the end shield. I don't know. But here's his build. He's on Junkyard Dog to give more debuffs. As I mentioned, my team has a little bit of trouble doing that. And then my other unit is going to be DN, who is there to provide the attack buff and the shield and the heals. So here's her stat. She has not changed at all from my last video. And then we have, last but not least, my frontline tank, Tywin, who I still don't have exclusive equipment for because I tried to get the exclusive equipment for Sigret for her S2 but failed, so I couldn't demonstrate that. But here are his stats. I changed him a little bit because I moved some of his gear. He had like immunity gear that was good. I moved that onto another unit, but his stats are pretty much the same. He has actually a little bit more health and a little bit more defense, I think, than last time, but a little bit lower speed, which hasn't really affected anything. So there you go. Those are my stats. All right, see you guys.